As Armand deals with the demise of Hayek and how that affects the organization he has now inherited, Tony stumbles into a potential business that's not only beneficial for her, but could be the next big thing when it comes to Armand, as he might be forced to transition away from issuing, or rather dealing guns. So, first things first. As has long been established, when it comes to working for jackpot maids, neither Fiona or Tony have been that happy with their job. Alonzo, their boss, he does not give a damn about any of his employees. He gives a damn about the contracts and maintaining them. Because of this, potentially even before Tony showed up, Fiona has quit on a regular basis only to show right back up again. However, this time she has Tony's full support, and with Tony in the warehouse clinic thing not going on right now, Fiona decides to quit. Tony backs her up and she decides she's going to start her own cleaning maid service, which, all things considered, Tony might be the main person financing the business. At least that's the way it kind of looks so far, but at the same time, we can't discredit the fact that Fiona has a full-ass house that has a lot of space to it. Granted, in Arizona, so prices are different than it is over here in the Northeast, but who's to say she hasn't saved her own money in order to potentially do this eventually? And now with Tony there to help her, she now has enough gall to tell Alonzo to go shove it. Unfortunately though, when it comes to Fiona, while she now kind of has the energy to possibly take on a bit more independence, start her own business and things like that, her working with Tony for the cryptocurrency thing got back to Garrett, or at least he pretty much was able to pinpoint it. So he forces Tony to either help him when it comes to his stalking of Maya, or else he's gonna go and turn Fiona in. Now, because Tony doesn't want that, and she just dealt with, Fiona being very helpful when it came to Marco's parents, she decides she's gonna go stalk Maya, clone her phone, and Maya's not appreciative of this, but what is Maya gonna do? Garrett is fully obsessed with her. He's not gonna let this go. He's dragging other people into his obsession, so I guess until she comes around, he's just gonna keep tabs on her like the stalker that he is. But her problems don't end there in terms of Fiona. Fiona also has to deal with John, who's now wanting to blackmail her because he has the tape of Chris pushing Marco and killing him, which of course Tony kind of contributed to since she told him to call the cops, yada yada yada. But point is, John wants $10,000, which at first seemed like it's gonna be a one-time thing, and then he's gonna let it go. But when he sees that she's capable of getting $10,000 within less than a week, he's like, "Oh, let's make this a monthly thing." Which, because Fiona has gone through so much in the past week when it comes to her brother dying, her son doing it, and now someone trying to blackmail her, and of course quitting the job and whatnot, she snaps on John, and she doesn't kill him, even though if you didn't see the next episode preview, you would think she did kill him. But it definitely shows that she's coming to that point where she's not gonna just take everybody's BS anymore and just try to roll with the punches. At this point, she's ready to duck and pow right in their face. But speaking of Marco's death, Luca is still in that mindset of craving his father, and unfortunately, one of the things he's also craving, though of course not verbally, is medication. Tony, of course, through Jackpot Maze, is not getting any type of insurance because she's still very much undocumented. So she would go for a man named Benny who would get medicine from Mexico. But the problem is, Benny didn't get his pickup because of supply chain issues, since, even an illegal trade supply chain is a big problem. So now Luca's body is rejecting the liver, and Tony's freaking out because she doesn't know where to get the drugs. But as we're going to the next topic, we'll talk about a solution she comes up with through working with Armand and her least favorite person, Nadia. So for the third topic, we got to talk about how Tony ends up getting into business with Armand instead of working for Armand. As shown thus far, Robert is very much willing to test the boundaries when it comes to Nadia's marriage. And while Nadia isn't necessarily humoring him to the point of telling him to keep going, at the same time, let's look at her life. She does not have friends. Yet here's Robert, who's not only an ex, but someone she can talk to about football in the European, non-American variety, and other things which, when it comes to Armand, she doesn't really talk about because their life is mostly business, and increasingly her getting frustrated with Armand's relationship with Tony. But Armand's not stupid. He recognizes that without Hayek's capital, the gun business is starting to flounder, especially because everybody knows the feds are watching, which makes it even harder to sell the guns in order to pay back Robert for what he did. So when Tony comes in trying to help herself out, while also trying to give Armand a lifeline, and she's talking about buying drugs from Mexico, selling them in America, and it's 90% cheaper in Mexico, so the profit margins are high. He goes for it. Nadia isn't so sure about it because she wants, of course, to sell the more expensive addicting drugs, but Tony, of course, doesn't want to do that. But because Armand knows how to talk to both ladies, he's able to get them to kind of make an agreement and work together, but it's one of those type of alliances that you can see all it needs is one person to say the wrong thing and it's going to be broken. But in terms of Tony's side to it, it's a blessing because she gets all the drugs that Luca needs. She gets Vinny to go from her drug supplier to her drug dealer. And while she's still not working out of that warehouse we saw in the last season, she is able to kind of have a mobile clinic out of the van that Fiona's going to use for her cleaning service. And with that, unfortunately for Armand, he doesn't get all the money that Robert wants, but at the same time, he at least is able to start making progress towards it. And on top of that, he's able to get away with the first week that he was supposed to give money by helping Robert get money from a different person that owes him by roughing him up a little bit. Now, what's going to happen for the following week? It's hard to say, but Armand may have to come to that point. We have to set aside his pride if he wants to keep working with Robert and keeping his word. And that may mean accepting the fact that Robert may have to be his partner if he wants not only the capital to continue Hayek's business, but also some sense of, not clout, but being that Robert's not being watched by the feds or whatever Robert's business is, Armand may have to admit that he needs Robert if he wants to continue the only thing he knows. So for the first highlight, it's just watching Fiona fight back. To me, Fiona has long kind of made herself small in a way in order to not only survive in America, but maybe that's how she was back in the day too, because with the way that her parents made her seem, she was always this independent person. She was always someone who didn't necessarily need anybody, or if she was suffering, she made it seem so minor that people didn't kind of catch on. It's kind of hard to say, but after watching Fiona for a whole season, take everything that was going at her regarding Chris's immigration issues, then of course Tony getting involved with Armand and all this gangster stuff, you can see she has, for lack of a better term, a high pain tolerance, if not just a high level of tolerance for BS and also patience when it comes to people, since with not having Chris's father, not having Jazz's father that active in the picture, not having her family back in Manila, Fiona has often seemed to have to play the defense, but now when it came to John, and it comes to Tony empowering her when it came to Alonzo, it seems she's finally switching to being on the offense, taking the initiative so that she can have what she wants, what she needs, and is not going to let people just keep rolling over her. The second highlight is just Tony finding Armand a hustle. It's always been kind of questionable how deep Tony is willing to get in with Armand in terms of what business that she knows he does. But at the same time, it's been clear with her cleaning up multiple murder scenes, she's willing to get her hands dirty. So with this in mind, I kind of like that she's kind of elevating herself and is reminding not only Armand, but also people who watch the show that she is a licensed doctor in Manila, in Philippines probably in general. And also that at the end of season 1, her idea was, I'm going to provide healthcare to people who can't afford it, who are afraid to go to doctors, or perhaps are underinsured and don't get the kind of help they deserve or need. And I feel like with what she's doing, we're going to get that shift finally. And also it could lead to, considering Nadia is involved, it could lead to them headbutting mode just getting increasingly interesting. especially because there's always that chance that the tides may turn and they go from kind of hating each other or misunderstanding each other to maybe becoming friends. Because with watching Nadia interact with Robert, it seems very clear she needs someone to talk to besides Armand, or code switching for clients so that she can seem friendly and amicable. So in terms of on-the-fence topics, I really just have so little interest in Maya, Garrett, and all that I know it's probably like a broken record at this point. But the problem with Maya is, especially because they show for Black Guy this episode, it feels like they're cheaply trying to get sympathy for her. And at this point, I'm just like, show me who Cortez is. Have him have conflicts with Robert, conflicts with Armand, and put him in that situation. Using Maya as a means to kind of soften Garrett, as I think I said in the last episode with recap, it's not gonna work. Garrett is a bastard, no matter how you slice it, and he just doubles down like every other episode. In trying to use Maya because she got put into a bad situation, he's kind of stuck in it. It's not gonna change anything, it's not gonna help. All it does is make Garrett more of a hateable character because you're reminded how badly he put her in, how he put her in this bad position, which she's potentially, if not outright, drowning in. The second on the fence topic deals with Robert, and it's mainly because he doesn't present anything interesting as an individual. Yes, with Nadia, he shows how she had a past before Armand, since the two of them dated. Yes, when it comes to him sending Armand off to whoop somebody's ass, it allows Armand to reaffirm that he is a gangster who will get his hands dirty and beat the hell out of somebody, including even, well, he didn't torture the man, but he definitely threatened a man who was potentially handicapped or on his last leg. Either way, the man needed an oxygen tank, so it showed that Armand is willing to go that far no matter what the cost. But as for Robert as an individual, he doesn't really do or say anything notable. We know that he's rich. We know that he's possibly into some type of crime. But as for him doing or saying something of note, I'm drawing a blank. And granted, not everybody on this show necessarily fulfills their potential thus far, but we just went for a whole season, so I feel like at this point we should start knowing what works and what doesn't for new characters, so that it's not a case of, having to be a wood bunny oven, we got to warm up to them, but we should be able to kind of quickly get to what place they're going to have in the show, what they're going to do, what's the long-term goals, what the short-term goals is, and at this point, Robert just feels like a placeholder. Possibly until Cortez comes around and really starts causing issues for Armand, potentially Nadia as well, and the organization that is pretty much starting to fall into shambles under Armand's leadership. Overall, the new characters for Season 2 are definitely flopping a bit, but the ones from Season 1 are doing better than ever, and as they find themselves challenged and rising to the new occasions, there is the hope that they can compensate until the new characters are able to find their footing.